Hello, children. Welcome once again to the wonderful series of the Tiny Detectives. Today we will read Why Do Stars Twinkle? Let's start. The Tiny Detectives by Cressida Cowell. Meet the Tiny Detectives. The Tiny Detectives are very little indeed. They are also very curious. That's why they live in a bookcase. Because even the littlest of people can find answers to big questions if they dive into a book. And that is exactly what the tiny detectives do best. One evening, Ollie wanted to put off going to bed, so he cleverly thought of a big question. Why do stars twinkle? He said. Dad was already falling asleep, but a really good question always woke Dad up. This is a job for the tiny detectives, he said, enthusiastically opening his eyes. Let's find a book about space and quickly find out the answer. Maybe Bo and Beetle should stay here though, Mom said with a frown. It is way past Bo's bedtime. I'm not sleepy, said Bo, who didn't want to miss anything. So the tiny detectives climbed up the bookcase and opened a book called Space. Dad wound the red story thread around his waist so they could get back out of the book at the end of the adventure. And they leapt right into the middle of the bright silver rocket, covered in buttons and screens and levers and wires. But this rocket is still on the ground, grumbled Tiger, very disappointed. We need to get closer to the stars to find out why they twinkle. This isn't much of an adventure, complained Ollie. You look around while I have a little rest, yawned Dad. Dad was so very tired that he fell asleep on top of a large red button. The rocket began to shake. Dad had found out how to launch the rocket. Wake up! Get off that button! Cried Mom. But Dad carried on sleeping, however loudly Mom shouted. And suddenly, the adventure became very exciting indeed as the tiny detectives shot into the air. The rocket blasted upwards with a great whoosh. The tiny detectives all yelled in surprise as they were thrown back into their seats, apart from Dad, who just kept on sleeping. What's happening? Asked Bo. I think we are going to space, Ollie realized. Watch out! We are about to leave the Earth's atmosphere, shouted Mom. This made things very bumpy indeed. Once they came out the other side, things got even more interesting as Bo made an exciting discovery. Look, the stars aren't twinkling anymore, he said, pointing out of the window. So, the stars don't actually twinkle, said Mom. It's just seeing them through the gases in the Earth's atmosphere that makes them look as if they are twinkling. The tiny detectives had found out the answer just in time. Beetle was rubbing his back legs together in alarm and pointing at the red story thread. Oh no, cried Bo. Beetle says we are getting so far from the earth that we are gonna run out of the story thread and then we'll never get back home. So Mom gave 3 big tugs on the red story thread. that was still tied around sleeping Dad's waist, and the tiny detectives were pulled back through the dusty, gusty layers of Earth's atmosphere and into the quiet darkness of the nighttime bookcase. They had to put Daddy to bed in all his clothes, still asleep. Bo can tell Dad why stars twinkle when Dad wakes up in the morning, said Mom. Dad missed Bo and Beetle saving the whole adventure, Tiger said, grinning. But then it was way past Dad's bedtime. The end. I hope, children, you all enjoyed this beautiful story and you learned that do really stars twinkle? It's fun time now. Can you find Beetle hiding in the space? Search along with your friends and parents. If you like the story, do share it with everyone and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. If you want to read more interesting stories from the series of Tiny Detectives, do check the description box below. It has all the links of the Tiny Detective stories. We'll be back with another story soon. Until then, goodbye. Happy reading.